Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, our group, we would like to present about Gojek joint venture, which is popular in Southeast Asia. So this is our team. My name is Kenana, and this is...
I'm Pooja.
And I'm Kylie.
So let's started.
So let's start with our agenda for the presentation. So in the beginning, we'll do the introduction for the Gojek. And the next is the analysis of candidate countries with the culture dimension theory and the Western analysis. The next is the impact of cross-cultural issue on organization stakeholder. Then there is a recommendation and conclusion. At the end, we have some references that we use for the slide. So let's start with the introduction of the Gojek. The name Gojek, it came from the term Ojek, which means motorbike taxi in Indonesia. It is very famous right throughout the country. It is a Southeast Asian on-demand super app with multiple service platforms founded by Nadiem Makarim, who was also the former CEO of the company, but recently he stepped back from this position to join the politics through President Joko Widodo cabinet. When Gojek was first established in Indonesia in 2009, it was established as a call center to connect the consumer to the courier driver delivery with 20 motorbike driver. But later in year 2015, it launched its app with 4 services, which are GoRide, GoSend, GoSub, and the GoFood. It is Indonesian first unicorn company and the only company in Southeast Asia that is included in Fortune 50 companies in 2017 and the year 2019. Next slide, please. So Gojek fully operates in Indonesia with all its services, that is more than 20 plus, but in other countries like Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, it operates through beta version app, whereas in Philippines through the alliances with CoinPH. Gojek set up its headquarter office in Jakarta, a data service and engineering office in Singapore, and also the engineering and the faculties in India. Gojek has both domestic and international investors like Astra International and Bivli.com. Both are domestic investor, while Google and Chinese Tencent and Global Investment Company are its international investor. Next slide, please, Kylie. So these are some of the services of the Gojek. Next slide, please. So reason for going international for Gojek. So one of the reasons of going international is the lack of the riding hauling in Southeast Asian countries. The next is to become the #1 go-to lifestyle app. Also to change the ratio of its domestic versus international customer from 80-20 to 50-50 in the next 5 years. Attract international investors such as Google, Mitsubishi Corporation to put Indonesia on the map as a regional hub for tech innovation. Next slide, please, Kylie. Also, the huge market for internet economy, which is rising from 2015 to 2025. Next slide, please. So from here, the King is going to continue the presentation.
Hi. So joint ventures can be described as a contractual agreement between two companies by parent companies. So such as local company and another company is foreign company. So local company, they brought the technology, expertise, and capital, etc. But foreign company, they provide the local market knowledge and cheap labor and infrastructure, etc. So next. So here are the nominated countries: Thailand versus Philippines versus Singapore. Yeah. So we are gonna choose the right candidate by applying this Hofstede's cultural dimension theories. Next. So Hofstede 6 cultural dimensionals. They are first, power distance, and second, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus feminism, and certainty avoidance, long-term versus short-term orientation, and indulgence. Well, we are going to use these cultural dimensions to measure the partner cultures. So before we measure, let's take a look for the host country, Indonesia culture dimension. So Indonesia is a power distance country, which is 78 scores. So co-workers expected to be clearly directed by their leaders and managers. So it is also a lower individualism. It means it is collective, this society. And then people are expected to pay respects for the rules of the society and their members. So, and it is also a less masculine country with a 46 scores. So material wealth is believed to be significant in Indonesia, but physical appearance is the most important. But for uncertainty avoidance, in Indonesia, direct communication is a method of conflict. So that's why using a third-party mediator is very important. So Indonesia also has a long-term orientated because it scores 62, and it has a pragmatic culture. So, and for the indulgence, it is lower than 50. So it means that it has a restraint cultures. So people with this orientation, they are restrained by social norms, and they feel like indulging themselves is something wrong. Next. So this is the main part. We're gonna measure our three countries: Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. So among them, if you look at to the graph, so most all of them are over 50. But among them, Philippines is the highest of the group. So it means like most hierarchical than the others. So it means like that high power distance countries managers pay command, and they are in the respected places in the workplace. So next. So if we measure individualism versus collectivism of the candidated countries, so as you see, every countries are lower than 50. So it means they have a collectivistic society. Loyalty is really important for their families and friends. So people, in Singapore, the second key principle is Confucian teaching. So in Thailand, they have a non-confrontational yes may not mean a yes. So next. Masculinity versus femininity. So in this graph also, Philippines has the highest scores than the rest. So it means Philippines has the masculine country, whereas the other two countries are feminist country. So Philippines managers are forceful and then very determined, and they are disputes can be resolved in the battling them out. But the other feminist societies, and they have a lower, less competitive, and then decisive. Next. So uncertainty avoidance index. So in this index, but surprisingly, Thailand has the highest rankings than the other countries. So so it means like in Thailand, the government and authorities, they want to minimize uncertainty and unusual conditions. So that's why laws and legislation regulations are followed and mandated. Next. So the second last cultural dimension is long-term versus short-term orientation, which is important for the global businesses for the future. So in this case, the Singapore has the highest ranked than the other. So it has a long-term partnership. It's people do the business depending on the reputation, but the rest of the countries like Philippines and Thailand are short-term orientation. So they have a similar perspective. So the last one is indulgence. So in indulgence, every country has the lower score of 50. So like 42, 46, 45 respectively. So it means like all of them, they have a restraint culture and tendency of in Philippines, people tend to skepticism and then negative thinking, and cultural norms limit the behavior in societies. So, but in Singapore and Thailand, we cannot measure their indulgence because they scores in the middle of the others. Okay, next, Miss Kylie will continue to explain pestle analysis, which is important for the business.
Thank you, Ken. About PESTO analysis, it is an acronym for a tool used to identify the macro forces facing an organization. The letter is then for political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. Firstly, I want to talk about Thailand PESTO analysis. About the political factor. It's a battle between two political groups, the red shirt and the yellow shirt group. And one of Thailand's largest money-making industry is tourism, but because this fight, some countries in Europe and Asia have warned their citizens to avoid visit Thailand. About the economic failure, a problem with a bad currency streamline the process for investor and new business owner, and an extremely low unemployment rate. More of the younger generation moving into new industry like cybersecurity. About the social factor, Thailand is popular for medical tourism and half of the working population are in agriculture. About technological factor, Thai farmers use cutting-edge technologies to harvest the best crop, and in Asia, Thailand is one of the leading technology-saving countries. About legal factor, Thailand is a country with many flaws, but some are more unique that the citizens need to be careful about what they talk about royal family, and also the citizen must be 20 years old to ring. About environmental factor, many species are endangered or risk of extinction because the land is being used to expand cities. Next, I want to talk about PESTO analysis of the Philippines. About political factor, Philippines is an active member of the UN and other groups like ASEAN Summit, the ASEAN Pacific Economic Cooperation, and the World Bank, the World Trade Organizations, and Group of 24. The political environment is stable. About economic factor, the Philippines is a very good country for investors to invest because the low business setup costs, the strategic locations, and also its availability for top-notch workforce. About the social factor, English-speaking workforce makes it easy for foreign companies to run their business here. About technological factor, the Philippines has made the rapid project over years in terms of technologies and innovation. About environmental factors, Philippines has more than 7,640 islands, turning beaches, water parks, hotels, the bright fires, and many other attractions memorize tourists in the Philippines. However, it's also the victim of natural disasters such as flooding. The legal factor, the regulation reform focus on corporate governance. And last one, the Singapore PESTO analysis about the political factor. That's the political risk in the Singapore is quite low, and the economic factors that we know that Singapore is a foreign free market economy, and the country per capita income is the highest in Asian area, and the corruption-free environment support for business sector. About social factor, it's an Asian cultures and the literacy level are high. About technological factor, Singapore has the strong technologies, the 5 logistic backbone to support business, and the physical infrastructures have grown with technologies. And the last one is the environment factor, that Singapore is dependent on Malaysian supply water. The next one is
So for the impact of cross-culture issue on the organization stakeholders. So who are the stakeholders? So stakeholders are the one who are directly or indirectly linked with the company. So where it comes to the Gojek, the stakeholder of the Gojek are its merchant, employees, local community, and the shareholder. So we'll discuss the impact on these stakeholders, which is both positive and negative. So let's start with the positive impact. So whenever any companies run in the international market, there is a culture factor that affects a stakeholder, and same is with the Gojek. So some of the impact of the culture issues are employment opportunity for the local people to attract. Gojek hire lots of local employees in all the country that it is operating, like Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore. Connects the small local merchant to the large consumer. Technological advancement and partnership opportunity for the local company, continuous training and the growth opportunity for employees to adjust in the global market. Also, the contributes to the country's economy. And the next is for the impact on negative impact. So difficult to get the employees in the initial phase when Gojek was first starting in Singapore. Faces the challenges to get the riders, as most of the riders were employed by the Grab, which is like a Singaporean company. Communication challenge is one of also the major challenges in international business organization. Project delay and the financial loss. In Philippines, when Gojek attempted to enter, it was rejected twice by the Philippines Department of Transportation for not being able to meet minimum local ownership for the transportation, which is 60. Which caused like both financial loss and also for the time loss. Gojek had to launch the beta version of Jet to attract the local consumer in Thailand. So the next is lack of participation and commitment in Vietnam. When it launched as a GoVet, has lost its 2 CEO in less than like 1 year, which means there is a lack of commitment. And also at the last, there is also the conflict due to the culture differences. And for the next slide, we'd like to show the video maybe in the class, or we'll send the link to the with the video with the presentation. It's like a 2 minutes video that explain the impact. Next slide, please. So from here, Kylie will gonna take care of the presentation.
About recommendations is based on the cultural dimension and best analysis. We choose that Singapore is the best for Gojek joint venture. And also has the other factor considered for joint ventures in Singapore, that is Singapore tax is lowest in the world, 20% maximum tax rate for income above 320,000. The intellectual property protection, according to the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report, that Singapore offers the best IP protection infrastructures and incentives in Asia. And Singapore also has very strong copyright trademark and patent laws. The flexible immigration policies is also the main factor. Next is Singapore rated the world for least corrupt countries, Asian leanest in anti-corruption. We can see in the graph that the best human capital in the world, and Singapore is the highest in Asia. And Singapore ride-hailing markets, we can see in the graph. And the Singapore economy is the largest of Southeast Asia. and Singapore, they know their competition. That's correct. We can look at the number here and also Gojek launch beta app. So conclusion, based on the cultural dimension analysis, best analysis and our research, we think that Singapore would be the perfect country to start a joint venture for Gojek in comparison to Thailand, Philippines, and on the cultural dimensions of Singapore is similar to Indonesia, except for the uncertainty avoidance. Moreover, Gojek already have office in the Singapore with data science and engineering team. So that's all for our presentation. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much for watching.